Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to April 1st, 1984. I know you're asking yourself, what's so important about this day? Well, other than being April Fool's Day, it's my birthday, one of the most important days of the year, to me at least. Today, I'd like to take your time to talk to you about 1984, and more specifically, April 1984. But first, I'd like to tell you about some of the events that occurred during 1984. First, we had the Olympics in Los Angeles, California. Then, we had Virgin Atlantic, who had their first flight in 1984. There was also some tragedies in 1984, more specifically in Beirut, Lebanon, where the embassy was destroyed on April 22, 1984. During the 80s, we had two presidents, President Ronald Reagan and President Jimmy Carter. During April 1984, there was an historic event. According to the BBC, this is when President Reagan traveled to China. Well, you might think that this is not important, but this is the first time that Reagan traveled to China in over 12 years. And this began a dialogue between us and the Republic of China, which has lasted through the decades up until right now. Another thing that happened in 1984, which was a serious issue, was the AIDS virus. The AIDS virus epidemic began in the 80s, and more specifically was identified by Dr. Robert Gallo, according to the AIDS Coalition and the CDC, in 1984. This was a very historic event. If it wasn't for Dr. Robert Gallo, we would not be able to develop drugs to maintain this virus that has killed millions and millions of people over the years. And according to the CDC, since 1980s, the epidemic has just increased, but at least now, with the help of Dr. Gallo identifying the AIDS virus, we can maintain the virus through many prescription drugs. There was also some benefits of 1984 for us, especially living in Michigan. One of the greatest things that happened, according to Yahoo Sports, was Kirk Gibson hit a 3-run home run in 1984 to give the Tigers a win over the San Diego Padres and win the World Series. Go Tigers! Also in 1984, there was many financial struggles that were occurring, just like right now in 2014. You might think that gas was a lot cheaper in 1984, but according to the Census Bureau, it really wasn't. The price of gas was $1.84, almost $2 a gallon. This is really astonishing to think that 30 years ago, gas prices were $2, compared to right now, which was $3. Not really much of a difference. The average income per household also was $21,000, and it really hasn't changed over the years. Right now, it's about $27,000. This really shows that there is a large income inequality in the United States, and this really has to change. Also, movie tickets back then were $2.50. Now it's $7.50. Think about it. You can watch 3 movies for every one this time. In 1984, we had a lot of entertainment going on. More specifically, movies such as Beverly Hills Cops, starring Eddie Murphy, and one of my favorites, Police Academy. Who doesn't like Police Academy? And one of the songs during the 80s that was very popular, especially during April 1984, was Footloose. And who doesn't like Footloose? That was the #1 on the Billboard charts. I want to thank Mr. Leon and Miss Mary and Mr. Carey for taking their time today to listen to me. Thank you.